This is White Plains Week, the weekly roundup of White Plains, Westchester, and world news. With John Bailey, editor and publisher of the daily internet newspaper White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, WPCNR.com. Jim Benerofe, editor and publisher of SuburbanStreet.com and WhitePlains.com. And me, Peter Katz, formerly with NBC, ABC News, and stations from Boston to Los Angeles. White Plains Week, what's happening? Who are the newsmakers? What's in store for the future? The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants. White Plains Week is presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76, Verizon Fios Channel 45, and on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. Now, White Plains Week.
Good evening. I'm John Bailey. This is White Plains Week, where the action is. And I'm joined today by, of course, the Dean of Journalism in the city of White Plains, Jim Benerofe, my partner for the last 18 years. And on my right, Diana Das joins us for the show, and she'll be with us throughout. And right now, she has the headlines.
Thank you, John. Here are the headlines for the White Plains Week of August 10th, 2018. Murder-suicide deep inside the Westchester Medical Center raises security questions. Mayor Tom Roach says Department of Environmental Conservation is testing contaminated field at 52 North Broadway. Possible 70 condominiums will be in the new pavilion project on Maple Avenue. Apartments galore on North Broadway. Can we fill them up? State Education Department delays release of 2018 assessment scores of New York State schools until late September. 440 Hamilton Avenue development expands. French American School of New York tells WPCNR it is awaiting judge's decision on Gedney residents' lawsuit. Say they will still build their campus. New York City votes to cap Uber and Lyft drivers and study traffic impacts on the city. We'll examine President Trump's terrific week.
Yes, and it was terrific. Well, Jim, we head first to the Rollo newsreel, March of Time, the video newsreel, and of course that's a shot of Westchester Medical Center where there was a murder-suicide this week, and it shocked me when I heard about it. And apparently a man shot his wife in a hospital room, and he was distraught because of her illness, and then he killed himself, according to police. What did we think about this?
Well, I think the fact that he got into the hospital with a gun is worth being concerned about. I don't know if they have metal detectors.
They don't. The hospital confirmed they have no metal detectors, and they do not search them like, you know, when you go to a ball game or a concert or Broadway play,
Right.
they at least wand bags and wand you up and down.
I think that's something that they probably should pay a little bit of attention to now. You know, it's a very sad story, but at least there was theoretically it was not a criminal. I mean, it is a criminal act, but it was.
It was brought on by the inability to cope with circumstances, apparently.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think we know. It never dawned on me,
Right.
going into hospital after hospital for many years, that there was, hey, there's no security. But that is glaring to me, particularly if there's something like that.
Well, I never thought about it either,
No.
but now it makes you think. It really does. That
A simple wanding of handbags and people going in would do it. That's
I mean,
what they do on
when we
Broadway.
go to shows in
Yeah,
New York.
right. They do it at Yankee Stadium, where they have 45,000 people a night.
Oh, of
And
course.
everybody does get checked. But I think it's something that people have to look at, and there has been no statement from Westchester County about the incident and about security. I asked them if the county executive has a statement on it, but we'll see. They may be thinking whether to call on us. It's a big expense.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But it really raises a question, doesn't it? And now, going to the Common Council meeting this week, we had the hearing on 52 North Broadway open up again. That's the site plan, Jim. And you were there. What were your impressions of the hearing?
Well, the neighbors certainly are not happy. The voting on it is actually being put off, I believe, until October. You know, the city is building or proposing to build an awful lot of housing. By my count, we're talking about building close to 5,000 units. Now, not all these are under construction. There are some that have been finished. You know, I question where all the people are going to come from. If you have 5,000 units, we can assume that will be a 10,000 increase in population.
Yeah. Why don't you read off your list?
All right. The Continuum, which is down by the railroad station, is finished. Westmoreland Avenue, the building is basically finished, and the Continuum has 561 units.
Right.
The on Westmoreland Avenue, the Norton Lofts, which is actually kind of right next to where my office is, has about 62 units now. I don't know if they have rented any yet. They haven't had people, as far as I know, coming into the building to look at units. And that's just a personal observation. That's not, it may not be factual. The pavilion now has been redesigned and will have 814 units.
Yes, and 70 condominiums, right? Maybe.
We don't know exactly when that'll get under construction. 440 Hamilton Avenue was going to be, that's a remodeling of an old A&T building that has 245 units, and they're going to build another building next to that, which I believe will have about 140 units. I'm not sure on the number of units there.
It's all right in that North Broadway area.
Now the Esplanade, which technically the easiest way to describe it, used to be the old White Plains Hotel, is being remodeled for 212 units.
It's been remodeled for a long time.
Well, I don't know if they've actually, I don't think they've actually done the remodeling. They just came in for an extension of their approval. Right. The other one that hasn't been too much talk about is the Broadstone, which will be on the corner of Mamaroneck Avenue and
East Post Road.
East Post Road. Yeah. And that's 434 units.
Yeah. Really adds up.
Mount Hope AME Zion Church, it's either 56 or 62 units. I'm not sure. And that's, as far as I know, I don't think that's under construction yet.
No.
Good Counsel property, they're talking about what, 400 or 450 units? Hale and DeKalb Avenue, I think that building is getting close to finishing. That's 77 units. Nothing has happened yet, and no plans have been presented for what they're calling the brewery on Westmoreland Avenue.
Yes.
The White Plains Mall site will have 600 units.
Yeah, and that continues to go through the approval process.
Now, there's another building that is now under construction, which I don't have listed here. I think it's going to be a total of 26 units, and that's diagonally across from the post office. The foundation is in the main post office on Fisher Avenue. It's on Fisher Avenue. by my calculations, there's approximately 5,000 units being talked about.
That's a lot.
That would technically mean, let's say in 10 years, we'd have an increase in population of about 10,000.
Really? That would be
that's figuring two people per apartment.
Right. Now, getting back to the hearing, there was a moment at that hearing when a woman discussing the situation on the Good Counsel property, the mayor, asked him this question, and he answered it.
This is really, this is one question for all of you, and then you go home to your homes, but this is our home. This is where we live, and to feel that there are toxins and unsafe driving conditions and a myriad of other consequences means that we should be able to be part of some of these planning. What about the fact that I was told that if I speak at a Common Council meeting, that the next month there will be some response to what I've said? Is that a lie?
I just responded to something you said. We're listening. The public hearing is allowing the public to bring things forward. I will say this.
Yes.
We have taken it, since you've asked, we have taken it very seriously. And in fact, I personally met with the state DEC to express how important we feel investigating that site is. And they have been doing that. So New York State DEC, which originally signed off on the closure of that site, is now in an enforcement action against the developer. And we're hiring our own independent, on top of DEC, we're hiring our own person to give us an independent view of what's over there.
And
so we take it very seriously.
All right, will we know, other than you telling me, which I respect your telling me anything, but other than you or anybody else on your council telling us, will we have the right to see the reports from both those agencies?
Yes.
And they tell us where they checked, what soil they picked up and what they looked at?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
How about that? That's the first time we've found out what the situation is regarding to whether that property where the dump is or the tax is being investigated. So that may delay things. We know how fast the DEC works, which is not fast. All right. Now, coming up next, the apartments galore, as we fill them up. I agree with you. Where are these people coming from? Are people still that in the looking at apartments up here?
Well, I know, I don't really know a lot of people who are doing that, but...
But the prices are so high.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. Like, you need people who can afford.
Mm-hmm. Like the 3,000 rents that they want.
Well, that's the thing. What about affordable housing?
Yeah.
Where are people supposed to go?
That's another good question.
Well, where are people supposed to live?
Yes.
If you can't afford $3,000 a unit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a little cheaper if you want studios, but still, you could rent one of those storage places for a lot cheaper.
Absolutely.
The thing is that they're building, I guess, for millennials,
mm-hmm.
And they're building all, I think, basically studios, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartments.
Mm-hmm.
What I think there may be a demand for is the empty nester renter or buyer who is moving out of a large home. But, I mean, I'm not going to move into a 2-bedroom apartment after living in a house that's almost 5,000 square feet. It's just not possible.
It's a mental adjustment that you just can't really stomach. And now the situation on 440. Just briefly, here's a shot of what they want to do there. No, wait, this is the pavilion. I'm sorry. We'll do pavilion first. That's the empty hole in the ground, and this coming up is, I believe, the site plan, what they proposed there, and this is their new site plan coming up from above. Next slide, please. there it is. And on the right is the maple, I believe, right? And this is what it will look like from the air. It gives you a better perspective than the
they are going to stage that development also.
Yeah,
There's going to be
right.
1 or 2 phases. I mean, that softens the blow of bringing all these apartments on the market at once.
Mm-hmm.
But the stream is there, and I would assume within 10 years you can
Yeah.
expect
In 10
that all
years.
of these projects will be built.
A lot has happened in 10 years. And we're expecting all these things to be built in 10 years. And they're not, it's going to take a while to get all this done.
Yeah.
Now, the 440 Hamilton Avenue, that's the new proposal they have on the right. And then here is, I believe, next is the site plan. There you go. That is the site plan. And could you tell us a little bit about what they plan to do here?
Well, I don't know anything more than they're planning 140 units, I believe
Yeah,
140
right.
units in the new building. The old AT&T building will have 245 units. So we're basically talking about, I guess, 385 units. I'm not sure that I have those figures exactly correct. So I'm saying that in advance.
Right, but I mean that's a lot of apartments in that little area of North Broadway. It's going to be like Times Square.
Well, I will say that the developer of that property, I believe, is Rose Associates. They have a long and good track record on housing, and I don't think they make many mistakes.
Well, no. Let's hope they proceed with alacrity to get this done. And now let's go to what I was very surprised to find out, and that is that the assessment scores for New York State students who took the assessment tests in 2018 are not going to be released to the public to 2018. This is a picture of Dr. Joseph Ricca, superintendent of schools in White Plains. I spoke to him about this, and he was saying that they could not depend as much on the raw scores because it doesn't tell them where they are at in relation to the state, and they are proceeding ahead with their own analysis of where the students are, and they feel pretty good about it. And you can see his comments directly on the WPCNR.com. And the reason this was delayed, according to the State Education Department, was they did less testing this year for the 2 to 3, I think it was 2 days. And so they needed more time to really work it out. If you did less testing, why did you need more time to work it out? I don't understand that.
I don't either.
Yeah, right. And to my way of thinking, why would it be different? And they are now going to get these assessment results to us at the end of September. If that, you never know.
That's true.
And it has been pointed out that if you take time and you change the curve, you can manipulate how good the test looks. A lower passing score means districts look much better. A higher one, districts look worse. Now, the question here is, did they possibly have such bad results on the first year of the assessments that they don't know exactly what to do about it? We don't know, and of course we won't. We won't. But this is a shock, and the school district doesn't totally rely on the assessment test scores to make decisions on how to change their curriculum. So it raises the question: if you're not going to pay attention to them and you can analyze without it, why have the assessment tests anyway? It's an interesting thought. If it's not needed, why do it?
Exactly. I mean,
what do you think about that?
Well, basically the same as you've said.
Yeah. If it's not needed to make good decisions to keep moving forward, and Dr. Rico is very pleased at how the internal test scores that they administered worked out, you have to say that the teachers, perhaps on the local level, are using better materials than the state does in making their new assessment tests. You know, you never know. Now, coming up, I have to really do a little commentary on Mr. Trump. As we know, it's been another terrific week for President Trump. It was highlighted by Paul Manafort's former friend and ally, detailing testimony laying bare millions and millions of gains he accused Mr. Manafort of evading taxes on. That trial of Manafort has also been characterized by a judge excluding lines of questioning by the prosecutors, which has been looked at askance by seasoned court observers. The judge goes far beyond Perry Mason judges, telling Mason's adversary, Hamilton Berger, objection overruled. You remember that. Hamilton Berger would object to Perry Mason's line of questioning, and the judge would always say, objection overruled. Right. But why should we expect that even if convicted, Manafort is, by playing the distraction role for President Trump, Trump will most likely pardon him? What I want to know is, was Paul Manafort ever audited by IRS? Yeah. Now, another agency that was humiliated this week for incompetence was the revelation that there are over 600,000 persons who have overstayed their visas the last 8 years. Lost track of. That's all they have to do. The immigration services keep track of things. Yeah. Just as all the IRS has to do is audit persons who show a lot of deductions or run audits on their bank accounts. The incompetence on overstayed visas is inexcusable. Much larger even than Trump has said it was. I mean, he must have loved that. And meanwhile, back in New Jersey, President Trump failed to condemn Saudi Arabia for the crucifixion it carried out this week, and failed to support Canada against the Kim Jong-un wannabe, the 30-something Saudi prince, whose crackdowns on dissidents are disturbing. As former UN Ambassador Susan Rice pointed out in today's Times, Trump is continuing to play enabler to strongman regimes. Make no mistake, he admires tough, nasty guys because he is one. Companies want the tariffs rescinded. Meanwhile, you cannot tell the tariffs without a scorecard. Trying to sort out terrific Trump slap him on, give him back tariff policy makes your head spin. This week was underscored by big companies whining about the China tariffs on aluminum, and auto companies want the tariffs rescinded. Trump so far has ignored their requests. I certainly am tired of corporate whining, aren't you? Aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I mean...
Absolutely.
I mean, what do you feel about the tariff-orama?
I don't know if he has any idea about what he's doing and the consequences of it. It's like, all the cars that are made, some parts are not made here, some parts are. I don't know what the breakdown is exactly, but, and there's going to be a change in, I think there's going to be more and more electric cars, for one thing. Mm-hmm. So the parts situation is going to become different. And, I don't know if he understands that stuff that well.
Well, he doesn't seem to understand it. That's what bothers me with all this flip-flopping.
And he doesn't want to understand. That's the thing. Like, he doesn't seem to... He doesn't read. He just goes by instinct. He doesn't listen to his advisors, really. I mean...
Yeah. Well, that's what it seems like, doesn't it?
It does.
Maybe it seems like it because it is. Every once in a while, you got to say, hey, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it might be a duck.
Yeah.
You always fall back on these cliches, but they're true. Now, there was good news and bad news on the Trump effort to do all he can to destroy the enemy of the people. That's us, journalists. Yesterday, the Trump administration imposed tariffs on Canadian newsprint, which will raise print costs on newspapers substantially and has already resulted in job losses on such papers. One bright note, the Chicago Tribune broke off their deal with Sinclair Broadcast Group for failure to make a sincere Sinclair effort to convince the Justice Department to approve a merger. But wait, did Mr. Trump want the merger to go through? The Trump administration is fighting among themselves, it appears. Yeah, how could the Justice Department not allow that?
Yeah.
You know, if they're really working hard for Mr. Trump. In Michigan, a Muslim woman, Rashida Tlaib, won a Democratic primary and will at this time be unopposed for a seat in the House of Representatives. And in the Kansas primary, the Trump-supported candidate is still a mere 91 votes apart, with the Trump-supported candidate Joe Manchin is ahead in an Ohio special election over Democrat Dan O'Connor. Gretchen Whitmer won a primary of governor in Michigan, and Sharice Davids in Kansas in a congressional race. These winners are considered more to the center. The lesson appears to be hard work wins change, not money. To change how the country is run, you have to work at it. Now, there was a very interesting advertisement that I saw for the first time this week, advertising the movie Death of a Nation, and you saw that spot. What did you think about it?
It was like scary to me. It was it was actually cringeworthy. I get scared that that's what we're going to see.
Yes, and
in the future, you know, for the 2020 election, even the 2018 midterms.
Yes,
that
things
kind of
you would
advertising.
never say. The commercial essentially links the Democratic Party to creating fascism, Nazism, and links them also to the Holocaust. It's an amazing spot. It's amazing. It's horrible. It is the future of what political advertising is going to look like in the next 3 months.
Exactly.
And down the road. So see it, but you know, I wouldn't show it on the show because it's such an amazing step forward. And who do you think produced this movie? Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh D'Souza, who Trump pardoned last May after he had been convicted of making an illegal contribution through a straw candidate. So perhaps Manafort has nothing to worry about. So anyway, that's it for us this evening. John Bailey, Jim Benerofe, and for Peter Katz and for Diana Doss, good night.
Good night.
White Plains Week.
This has been White Plains Week, news and commentary about White Plains, Westchester, and the world. The views and opinions expressed on this program were solely those of the participants. White Plains Week, produced by White Plains Citizen Net Reporter, and presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76 and Verizon Fios Channel 45. You may view White Plains Week anytime on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. For White Plains Week, this is Peter Katz speaking.